code, and then let's see where is our source code. So as I mentioned, if you remember in the beginning, like I'll be using Node.js as a sample app for this specific workflow. But don't worry, here I'm using sample workflow, but I'm 100% confident that whatever the source code you have, this is going to work there if you're using GitHub as part of your CI and CD workflow. But here we are talking about CI. So let's talk about this specific workflow, right? Now, if you go here and if you look at this like Node app, it's a very simple app where I have like a simple endpoint exposed. So this is what I have. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically push some changes, right? So for before I do that, let's go to this specific repo so that we can see the GitHub actions in action. So as you can see, this is actions tab where you can see the actions that are getting executed, right? So like initially there was some failure, but later on it started working fine with the configuration that I have written. So go to that repo, click on actions tab, and you can see all the actions that are getting executed. Now coming back to this code, now in order to trigger this action, either I can rerun this triggered action, or I would like to see or show you from the beginning. So what I'll do is I'll go to this repo and I'll make some changes and publish the code. So what I'll do is I'll just add enter, and then let's go to node app. So as you can see, like this is the change, right? So I have added a new line, so let's me add this. And let's push this change, and if you see, as soon as I push that change, right, automatically GitHub detects that change, and it will start one of the actions. See, now if you click on this, you can see all the actions here, right? Now you may be wondering, how GitHub Actions would know these steps needs to be executed. As I said, for that we have to write a configuration, and that configuration needs to be placed under .github workflows and then your configuration. And this is what I have added here, right? So if you see, it's like build Docker image. Sorry, that is the job name, and that is what you see here, build a Docker image. And then finally you have like Docker lint checks, checkout repo, right? All those things you can see, configure AWS credentials and all of these details. Now let's talk about the, okay, as you can see, the GitHub Actions has finished its job, and as a result, as a result what we are expecting once this is over is to publish the image to AWS ECR. So let's see if it has published the image, and how will we know what image is being published to ACR? So look at this stage, right? It's like build, tag, and push Docker image to Amazon ECR, and let's see what would be the version of this. So it should be build 10, right? So now let's log into ECR, I mean AWS, and go to ECR. We should have built-in image published here. So this is the repository name. See, build 10, and if you look at the dates, like 9th January 147, and this is what we are doing it here, right? So now an image has been published to ECR with the source code that we have used as part of this demo node app. It's a very simple node app. Now going back to this action, as I said, as soon as you push the code, right, certain checks will get started, and based on that, if everything pass successfully, then you can see all of these things in action, and finally you will be having that image published to ECR. But if anything fails, for example, if I go to the failed one, let's look at the failed one, right? And if you see here, it has failed at certain stage, and certain steps which I'm not aware of. So I'll have to go inside this, and you will have to see why it was failing, right? So if you see, it's like it was failing for some reason. It's like it was unable to validate the AWS credentials, and hence it was failing to push that to Amazon ECR. And in order to fix that, what I had to do was I have to go to settings, and then I had to update the secrets value. So these are the secrets which I have to add. So again, if you're using this same tools or stacks for your CI/CD workflow, you have to make these changes as part of your GitHub repo. Generally, a developer will not have access to make these changes, so you have to either get the access, or you have to request your administrator to make these changes, so that when you publish a change to the specific repo, that GitHub Actions will pick that change based on the event that you have you know used, and based on that it will start the execution. And as a result, you would be seeing this final outcome here, right? And you'll have this image published here now. So this is your CI part, and this is very simple. So again, to summarize, at first stage, you have to write this configuration in order to kickstart the CI part. And as part of this configuration, as you can see, the important one for you probably to note is uh, configuring the AWS credentials, since we're using Amazon ECR, and that has to be configured. And I'm creating what do you call image from here, right? Docker Compose build. And if you look at Docker Compose build, it's very simple, right? It's like this is the command I have, or configurations I have, right? And then this is a Docker file, which is nothing but it's like it looks like this, right? I'm using like Node 10, but of course you can make use of the latest one, right? So this is a Docker file, this is the Compose file, and this is your build YAML file, right? You can take this. This is like shared in my public repo, so you can have this as a reference. But for your project, of course, you may have like more source code added as part of your repo, but you have to update the jobs, right? You have to update the jobs credentials, and all those things you have to set it here. And once you do it, definitely you will be seeing that uh, image published to your Amazon ECR. And this is what your CI is, right? Now let's talk about C